Hey, what's up guys? So in this video I'm going to be teaching you everything about like the basics of the Atlas of Worlds. So this is going to start kind of serve as a foundation for everyone to kind of move forward into the more complex kind of elements of the Atlas. So I think teaching you exactly how the base works will then make it a lot easier for me to then teach you about things like sextant blocking and all the different modifiers and like boss killing and all that stuff that you want to do later. So we're going to get straight into it and I'm going to teach you exactly how every single little element works. So to begin with, there are 16 tiers of map in the game. So what a map tier is basically tier 1 maps are a certain level, I think it's 68, and then tier 9 is going to be 69, and they're all going to progress up in level by 1. So basically, the reason for this is because when you get higher level, you need to be killing higher monsters to gain experience to move further in the game. So when you're at a lower level, you want to be doing the lower maps, and obviously at the higher level, you want to do the higher maps. So one thing that to notice about the map tiers is that they all drop the exact same amount of loot. You're probably thinking like, hey, what's up with that? Surely the harder content should drop higher amounts of loot. But yeah, that's not the case in PoE. So that's something really important to realize. So if you're grinding like pure currency drops, you're going to get just as many in a low tier map, a tier 1 map, as you're going to get in tier 15. Having said that, there are certain items that drop in specific tiers of maps, namely sextants and different item level of items. So the item level of items corresponds to the to the level of the zone, and that's very important as well because you can get better modifiers on items at higher map levels. But anyway, enough of that. So there's 16 tiers, each of them increasing by 1 level. So now that we know about tiers, we can take a look at the atlas. Ignore everything in terms of the grey and the red circles. We're going to come up to, let's say, this corner here, and we can see a tier 1 map here, Lookout. So you can see that the Lookout map is connected to 2 other maps here with this line. This is extremely important to realize because this is going to determine what maps you can obtain from the Lookout map. So let's assume that the only map that you have currently is the Lookout map, and you've just entered the Atlas of Worlds, you've got no other maps, and you just go to the Templar Laboratory, and you rock up here, and you're going to head down here, and you're going to be able to find Zana here, and she's going to give you a quest to do a map. And you can pick any of the tier 1 maps, and then we'll learn now how that functions. So let's say you took Lookout, and you can see here that the pen map and the alleyways map are connected to Lookout. So basically, what does this connection mean? So the connection basically means when you're completing Lookout, it has a chance to drop you an alleyways map or a pen map. So basically, this connection means that the map that is before it will drop the maps that are connected to it. So similarly, if you're doing a tier 2 map, this pen map, you have the chance to drop another Lookout map or a cage map from that map. So later on, when I get into shaping the Atlas, this is going to be extremely important to understand. So just know that the map you're doing will always have a chance to drop maps connected to it, but no other maps in the other vicinity. So if I'm doing a pen map here, and I haven't unlocked the city square map, I cannot get that map. It's only the 2 adjacent ones that are connected to it. So moving on. Let's say I've done all of the tier 1 maps, beach, dungeon, lookout, and graveyard. So you've got all your tier 1s done. Now you have the chance to drop any of those on the Atlas. So basically how it works, when you're dropping a map, you're going to get the map that it is. It can drop itself, the maps that are connected to it, and then you're also going to get any map that you have unlocked on the Atlas. So if I'm doing this map and I've unlocked a tier 2 up here, Desert, I do still have a chance to drop that from Lookout even though it's not connected. So that's very, very important. So moving on, how do I get better maps? So when you're doing the Atlas of Worlds, you're going to notice this thing in the center here. It's called a completion bonus objective. So for every map that you complete the bonus objective, which you can see here, it says bonus, kill the boss of a magic or higher version of this map. And basically what that means is you just have to kill the boss on a blue map that you've used a transmute orb or an alteration on. So let's say that you do that and you kill the boss, it's a magic map, you're going to get a 1% Atlas completion bonus. And what this Atlas completion bonus does is, let's say you're over here, you're doing your lookout map, and you would drop a map of tier 1. So you could get another lookout or anything like that. Basically what the game will do is it will check your bonus objective completion, and it will then roll that. So if you've got 1%, you have a 1% chance to upgrade that tier 1 map to a tier 2 map. And as you complete more and more maps, that percentage chance will go up. So basically, what this is doing is allowing you to progress further through the atlas at a faster rate. So what you want to do is try and get up to around 100% so that every map that you drop will be automatically upgraded by the game to the next tier. Additionally, if you go over 100, you'll have 100% chance to upgrade it once, and then whatever percent chance you have on top of that to upgrade it again. So if I have 114%, which I do, and I do this tier 1 map here, it has a 100% chance if it dropped tier 1 to become tier 2, and then a 14% chance again to become a tier 3. So this is going to allow you to just get more maps of higher tier, which will allow you to gain more experience and abuse some other strategies, which I'll explain later in other videos. Okay, so now we know how to get the maps that we want and progress. We know what the progression does, and now we want to have a look at the Shaper's Orbs. So what is a Shaper's Orb, and why is it so important? Why is everyone talking about it? So a Shaper's Orb is an item that will drop off either a Shaper influenced map for the tier 6 one. It'll be called the tier 1 Shaper's Orb, and you'll get that when you first encounter the Elder. The Shaper will drop a tier 1 Shaper's Orb. So what does it do? What does a Shaper's Orb do? A Shaper's Orb allows you to select a map which is of the corresponding tier. So a tier 1 map will allow you to shape a tier 1 map. A tier 1 orb will allow you to shape this. Yeah, so what you want to do with these is you want to choose your favorite map of that tier, and then you want to shape it, which will increase the tier of that map by 5 levels. So the one I've chosen up here is the beach map. And this is extremely powerful because you can choose very good layouts that you really personally enjoy or are very good for your build and upgrade them so that you can continue leveling in those maps past the past level restriction. So you might not want to run a tier 1 beach, but you definitely want to run a tier 6 beach. There's another very important property for shaped maps, which I'll explain to you now. So we were talking before about the connections between maps and how if I'm doing a lookout map, I can drop a pen map or an alleyways map. So that connection stays the same even after you've shaped it. So up here I have my beach map, it's shaped. So you can see here it's connected to desert and arid lake. So beach can drop desert and arid lake. So why is this important? We already know that. Because when I'm doing beach, I want it to drop a tier 7 or tier 6 or tier 5 map, and you'll notice it's not connected to any. So what you can do is abuse the system a little bit here by making sure that the only map that you have of one tier is a tier 6 map, and because it's not connected to any other tier 6 maps or tier 7 maps or whatever, it will only drop one map of that type, and I'll explain that more when we get to red maps, but just kind of keep that in the back of your mind for now because it's extremely important. Okay, so moving on, we know a little bit about how to get Shaper's Orbs, and we know what they do now. So in terms of progression, you want to check out my Elder and Shaper explain video because that I actually go into quite heavy detail about how to get the Shaper's Orbs there, but I will explain it real quick in here. So to begin with, you want to be trying to encounter the Elder, and to do that I've heard various different people say different things, but basically what it comes down to is you want to keep doing your Atlas completion bonus. You want to try and get as much of that as you can up until tier 10. So you want to complete all the tier 1 maps, all the tier 2, all the way up to tier 10, complete all of them, and while you're doing that, you want to complete Shaper influenced maps. And by the time you've done all that, if you haven't encountered the Elder, I would be very surprised. So keep doing those shaper influence maps and you'll eventually get it, to my understanding. So progressing on here, shaper and elder influence. I won't go too into detail, but basically how you get shaper's orbs 7 through 15 is you complete a corresponding tiered map with elder influence on it. So let's say I want the tier 7 shaper's orb. How do I get that? So basically you want to be looking for a tier 7 map and you want to somehow push the elder influence onto that map. Again, you can check out my other video on how I explain to do that. But yeah, you want to push elder onto that map, and once you do so, you'll notice when you open your atlas up, that map will have a purple ring around it, saying that the shaper's orb is available for acquisition from that map. So what you want to do is manipulate the atlas, get the elder to all the tier 7, 8 to 10 maps, get all of those orbs, shape which maps you want. It's not really too important. There are a few different kind of very borderline rules at the very highest end of play, but you shouldn't worry about that too much unless you're gonna go very hard in the power farming kind of min-max efficiency stuff. So pick maps that you really like. I'll give you my example here. For my tier 1, I shaped Beach. Tier 2, I shaped Arid Lake. Tier 3, I shaped Iceburg. And then tier 9, I shaped Strand. Now, I specifically didn't shape any tier 10s, and that's because none of the layouts were very good for me. I didn't really like any of them. I think, actually, no, I did. I shaped Spider Layer, but I sell all those. I don't run them or anything like that. So yeah, choose ones that you like for those ones, and then moving on. The red shaper's orbs are completely vital to understand how they work. So when you obtain those, which you can check out the other video to find out how to do that, I'll link that in the description by the way, make sure you choose exactly which maps everyone else is doing, and I'll leave a recommendation of which ones I do, and I'll explain quickly here, but it's very complicated to choose which ones. So I would highly recommend kind of copying a streamer or the ones that I've done here, because there's a lot that goes into choosing these maps, and you really want to be choosing correctly. So the red shaper's orbs. For starters, I'll just go over what I shaped. Tier 11, I shaped Atoll. For tier 12, I shaped Dunes. Tier 13, I shaped Infested Valley. And tier 14, I shaped Estuary. And finally, for my tier 15, I shaped Bog. That'll all be in the description as well for you guys. So moving on, why is it so important? So basically, with a shaped atlas, which we have here, you don't complete any tier 11s to tier 15s. So going back to what I said earlier about how, hey, I can't get any maps that drop which aren't connected to the map I'm doing. So why is that important? So let's take a look at Bog here. So Bog is currently connected to a tier 11 map and a tier 9. So a general rule is that a map can kind of drop one tier below and one tier above. So a tier 14 and a tier 16. You kind of just keep that in mind for now. So really quickly, the only tier 11s to 15s I have are all shaped maps, which are very powerful and quick layouts that my build can run very quickly. So I basically only want to do those maps. So what you can do is force the atlas to give you only those maps. And by doing that, you increase your efficiency and clear speed and the amount of money you're making in the game. So basically, because Bog is connected to a tier 9 and a tier 11, it has no ability to drop any other map than my shaped maps. So that's my Atoll, my Estuary, and all that stuff. It can only drop my shaped maps. Okay, so that's basically the basics of kind of like shaping your atlas, how the atlas works, atlas completion, and all of that stuff. So just make sure when you're shaping your atlas that you only complete the center one if you're not interested in kind of earning currency via maps. If you complete this center portion of the atlas, what you're going to be doing is completing bosses for currency, and you're going to be kind of going towards pushing the end game, boss grinding, kind of farming Shaper, Elder, all of that kind of stuff. You won't be power farming, chaining maps and stuff like that with sextants. It's a very different play style. But if you are, then yeah, just make sure you don't complete any of the tier 11s apart from unique maps, the Guardians, and Shaper himself. So that's kind of a quick introduction. It might not sound like a bit of a beginner's guide, but once you get a grip on all of this, you're like way ahead of the rest of the player base in terms of your knowledge. You're going to have a huge advantage over everyone else. And that's because while everyone else is doing like Lava Lake, Core, all these really kind of difficult layouts to do, they've got really hard bosses, you're going to be doing only shaped maps that you specifically hand chosen yourself to be very easy for your build, very quick, and very efficient. So basically, to give you kind of an example of my maps, let's just see if I can get back to my hideout. This is going to be kind of a long video. You can see in my map tab over here that the only maps I have are shaped maps over here, shaped maps again. We've got one over here and one over here. I do have a few other bits and bobs, but that's not from the atlas. So basically, while they're doing the more inefficient maps, you'll be doing the good maps, and you can kind of just really focus in on doing one thing. So yeah, that's kind of like the basis. In my next video, I'll be going over sextants and sextant blocking and the most optimal maps for the 3.1 expansion. I might do another video on Elder and Shaper influence, kind of how to abuse it and all of that stuff. But yeah, you basically have two options. You can either go for mapping or you can go for boss killing. And if you're going for mapping, don't complete the center. If you're going for boss killing, you can complete the center. It's all just up to you. If you're shaping your atlas, I recommend following what I did. It's very lucrative and good. And then in the next video, you'll understand why it's so good, because I'll go into immense detail on that. Thanks for watching. Look forward to the next video, and hopefully you guys are earning lots of currency and enjoying the new patch. Thanks guys. I'll catch you guys next time.